9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
You've been running around, throwing that dirt all on my name. 'Cause you knew that I'd call you up. You've been going around every party in LA. 'Cause you knew that I'd be at one. Oh, I know that dress is karma, perfume regret. You got me thinking about when you were mine. Oh, and now I'm all up on you. What you expect? But you're not coming home with me tonight. You just want attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just hate the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you. Oh. You've been running around, throwing that dirt all on my name. 'Cause you knew that I'd call you up. Baby, now that we're right here standing face to face, you already know that you won. Oh, I know that dress is karma, you regret. Yeah. You got me thinking about when you were mine. Now I'm all up on you. What you expect? But you're not coming home with me tonight. You just want attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just hate the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you. What are you doing to me? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? I know that dress is karma, perfume regret. You got me thinking about when you were mine. And now I'm all up on you. What you expect? But you're not coming home with me tonight. You just want attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just hate the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you. Over you. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you.
What is up? SFL Nation? Welcome back to SFL Nights with AJ Striker. Thank you so much for joining me today or tonight or whenever you decided to hit that play button or turn on that radio dial. I really appreciate it, y'all. And I am joined here with one of my favorite guests in the world to have. And whether we're talking about league stuff or just in general, this is just a really good person to talk to. And his name is Mr. Cameron Irvine, Commissioner and CEO of the Simulation Football League. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Ashley.
Hey,
Well,
always
how are
good
you?
having you. Doing good, man. Doing good. You know, it's getting hot in Arizona. You know, it's 100. I think it's 105, something like that.
It's
Already,
dry. It's dry.
but
You're
still,
fine.
summer hadn't even started yet. I'm looking for the shaved ice right now.
Well, that's true. Y'all need more trees out there.
That's
Shouldn't there be
one
like?
thing.
Is there an organization in Arizona that just like cares about trees?
I'm telling you, I would join it tomorrow if I knew what it was. That's one thing I miss being in Georgia, man, those trees. But hey, but as I said, it's always good having you, man. And I know that this has been a very interesting season. It's been a very interesting off season, and I know you can't wait to get into it. But first, I just want to know, how are you? How are you doing? How is things in real life with Cam?
We're doing all right. It has been nonstop this off season, mostly just trying to fix things that are broken. That's what it's felt like for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks or so. I mean, it's only been 3 weeks since the championship game. It feels like an eternity for some because, they didn't make the playoffs. So it's been for them, probably almost 2 months now since they had something to do. So that's always difficult to deal with as a league office, right? You've got people that you've seen a lot of in recently, and then you have teams that haven't had anything going on for them in quite some time. So it's very, very different, very different perspectives around the league that we have to consider.
Got it. And so, like for you, especially since moving over to the new game, I know that it's kind of allowed you to be available for other aspects of the league that you would normally not be. So I was wondering if that was still prevalent, if that change was still a good move in your mind to kind of free you up to have more time for real life things as well as other things that you wanted to do for the league.
Yeah, I would say that some especially during the season it's there, but in the off season it's still not there. I'm in some ways more busy than ever just because we're still in this transition period. We're still trying to find our groove and find solid ground beneath our feet, right? We so desperately need a season of normalcy, within the league. And that's to be expected, when you switch games and you encounter things that you can test, I mean, hundreds of games, thousands of hours of testing, but until you get the human element into it, it's a totally different ball game. So I think during the season, we've definitely hit a rhythm with scheduling and just how the week works with meetings and some time off and things like that. But the off season is just insane still. So fingers crossed, nobody wants it more than me than to just have an off season or have a season where going into next off season we say, well, there's really nothing to change. Everything's going pretty good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of that, what do you say to owners and team staff that may have issues with the short off season and being prepared when rosters lock in July?
Well, June 26th, I think,
Oh,
it's the roster lock.
oh, my birthday. That's right. Hey.
Hey, happy birthday. 24 days in advance? Mine's tomorrow.
Actually, aren't you born the 12th?
No, the 3rd, tomorrow. But
I got this. I got the month right though. That's all that matters.
nobody cares about
Okay,
it.
good.
Well, nobody. People care that you got the month right, but nobody cares that my birthday is tomorrow. But
I'll sing to you personally. I'll call you.
I know I'll get that voicemail, so I appreciate that. That's how I got to figure out how to get a voicemail to become an alarm, so that I don't know, something like that. Just to watch my wife go, what the hell? It's when she wakes up to another woman singing me happy birthday on my phone. I don't know what's going to happen. I was asleep. But to the original question, what do I say to owners who think it's too short? Is that the question?
Yeah, owners and team staff like coaches and people like that who just may have issues with the short off season.
Yeah, I think that our efficiency is still, I don't want to use the word poor, but it takes us some time to get moving, and a lot of times that is because of rule changes. When rule changes impact the portal, then the portal impacts when I can get teams access to create contracts, which impacts when we can have signings, which impacts, when how long teams have to get these contracts together. But what doesn't change is that there's a convention with thousands of dollars in it, with everybody's travel plans in it, and you have to show up and you have to have games to play. There's nothing I can do about that. And so if we had an off season where we could go into, the signing period without having to make or having to feel like we had to make any sort of significant adjustments to our rule systems, then we could get going immediately. That has not been the case over the last few, couple off seasons. In some ways, to nobody's fault, of their own, but it is what it is. If we don't have anything that gets exploited, if we don't have anything that comes up that's an issue, if we don't have any of these things, then we can get going faster. But unfortunately, we've had to come with these things. And unfortunately, once you get the portal involved, you get other people involved. I'm not the coder. We have that contracted out, to a different company. And so you're at the mercy of their abilities and their schedule and their timings. And so it can be quite frustrating. It's been a very frustrating week for me because I feel like all I have done is try and get the portal ready to go. Now it is. It's one of the reasons why I told you earlier in the week, I have to wait to do this show until we are finally moving and getting things in motion. Otherwise, I'm just going to be saying on the whole show, well, once we, and I don't like to be that type of person. So we're rolling now. We're on track now. We're all right.
Okay, that's good because that I was going to ask a question about the portal a little bit later, but since you brought it up, I was wondering, is it because we are with with another company that we are experiencing seemingly the issues that we're having and not being able to kind of fix them when we want to fix them or as fast as we would like to?
Well, the first component of it is that leadership is a very challenging and complex issue. I can't think of a rule change I have spent more hours on in SFL history than this rule. And it's not even, as I said in my article, it's not even a rule that I am in love with, right? I don't think that it's the perfect end-all be-all solution, but it's something to help move us forward and keep us going. But because of its complexity, it did sort of continue on after the season was over, right? We weren't finished with it. And then I got sick and have been sick for weeks, not in bed, not able to do anything, but just dragging. There have been days that have been very, very difficult for me. So with that all being said, once we have a rule down, then, we go to our programmers and we say, okay, we would like for leadership max for non-quarterbacks to be 75. So all we have to do is change a minimum. But, and this is what kind of set us back a little bit, but we know that that's going to inflate salary caps. So we need to have an idea of what that inflation looks like. So we need you to set the max to 75. But before we push that update, we need to be able to see how that inflated contracts and team salary caps first. And so in order to do that, we had to set each player that was over 75 down to 75. Well, when we started doing that, on our, not to get into the weeds, but this is just, what we go through behind the scenes. We have a developmental site where we do a lot of test work. and then we have a front-facing site that people actually see. So on the developmental site, I changed the leadership attributes for players that were above 75 to 75. But on the developmental site, that changes the base attributes, not the current number of attributes. I didn't realize that. So when I changed the leadership to 75, it was changing leadership to like 131. And contracts were $8 billion because they were, 190% over max or whatever. And so I had to go back to the programmer and say, I don't know what happened. I changed all these, and basically everything is one team had like 16 trillion 800 billion like for their salary cap hit or whatever. And I was like, I don't know what I did, but you got to help me out here, because I didn't realize what I was doing. I just did them all, and then I refreshed, and then I was like, oh my gosh, what has happened? So we had to figure out what had happened, and then we had to get them all down to 75. And then once we figured out the inflation, we had to figure out what we were going to do with inflation, because the results were actually quite surprising to me in how that inflation took place. Denver, for example, had an inflation of about 300,000, and Florida had the highest inflation at about 8 million. And you say, well, how could Florida have the highest inflation when Canton had the most leadership? Well, Canton had a bunch of players that were maxed. And so they just went from being maxed to being maxed. And so there would be no inflation on that contract. So the teams that had the most leadership, but the least amount of players maxed, were the ones that incurred the highest inflation. And the teams that had the least amount of players closest to max in leadership incurred the lowest amount of inflation. Well, originally we were thinking, well, we don't want to see a bunch of leadership cut, beyond 75 mark. So everybody just inflates with their inflation. But it became clear early on that was not going to be fair, because, obviously, you've got 8 million, you've got 300,000. So we took the average, and once we took the average, well, then it was good to go. Everything could be pushed now, now that we had calculated inflation, because we had to get all the new teams in the portal. We had to get all the people assigned to the portal. That was something else that took a couple of days. We were trying to assign team staff a different team, and it was not saving. But then we discovered that in the short term, that if we turned staff into players and then back into staff, then the team would save. And so we were working through some hitches on the back end to get people the right administrative roles, so that, when you create contracts, you're creating contracts for just your team, all that sort of stuff. So,
right.
It all sort of, it got us to where we are today. Right. But it certainly took a lot longer than we expected. And that's not, our programming's fault or anything. That's just what happens when you go in and you change code and you find unintended consequences, and there are things that are not working. We had not had to add new teams for a very long time in the portal. You know what I mean? So we've had a lot of new coming in, and so there were some things there that there was some code that had not been explored for a long time that wasn't necessarily working effectively. Forgive me, Ashley, I don't remember your exact question, how we got on this topic, but I hope I answered it.
I think you did.
It's not the portal.
you did. And it was, about owners and team staff members having issues with short off seasons and just being prepared for when the rosters lock in July.
Okay.
So, and of course, I'm used to you doing that. You kind of go and you explain things. And I'm looking at the chat. First of all, hi, everybody. I was just so engulfed in what he was saying that we had some visitors. Justin Reside checking in, as well as Nathaniel Biggs. Damon Simeon's also coming in, as well as Ron Haynes. So thank you guys for showing some love. Really appreciate y'all for being here. So interesting stuff, because I don't think people really understand how much goes into what you do, and having answers quickly to questions sometimes is just not feasible because you have to run tests. You have to figure out different variables for things to see how it's going to react. So, with the zero stamina rule, a lot of people were upset with that because they didn't know how their player would be affected. Speaking of which, um, it seems that the league is encouraging the league's players to bring down the cost of attributes on their own by giving incentives to do so. Originally, the thought was of sacrificing something that you saved up to max out, wouldn't be beneficial for you to cut said attributes. So, um, what do you say to someone or players who feel that cutting these high value attributes to increase their bank would decrease their players' ability on the field significantly?
Well, here's the good thing about that, Ashley, because when we built this system, we thought about that very carefully. Quarterbacks are the biggest, they are the number one example for why this system is necessary. I'll give you an example. You've probably had 90 pass strength, read coverage, and accuracy like your whole career, basically. And in the system, in the APF era, any quarterback that was worth anything, that's what they had because it was maxed. That's what you could get. That's it, right? When we moved over to the new system and it became significantly harder to get those attributes, they were more expensive because everybody had them by design. We don't want everybody being a cookie cutter quarterback, so we want those other quarterbacks having to go and get other, work on other things, like OJ Bruin maxing out his scramble. He's the best quarterback outside the pocket throwing the football, and he's a fun player to watch because of it, right? So that was by design. However, if you're in a position, Ashley, where your team says, okay, we want to cut your arm strength, you might go, no way. If you cut my arm strength by even a point, it's going to take me 22 weeks to get it back if you've made a mistake, right? If you're wrong about this and I stink, right? This is not good for me. This is bad for me. This is bad for my business because how can I come back from that, right? So it was important to create a system that when you take 5 points of pass strength away and you get $1 million for that pass strength, if you cut it during the season, right? Which you shouldn't be cutting it in the off season. But if you cut it during the season and you get $1 million for that, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I've made a terrible mistake, then you can just buy it back because you have money, because you sold it, and now you have the money to buy it back if that's what you want to do, right? But it allows teams and players to experiment, and it allows for people to be wrong and it not be detrimental to player builds. We have seen, especially in the 4K23 transition, we saw teams make leaps or think they didn't need durability or think that they didn't need, X, Y, Z, whatever. And these builds were created, and then these players were stuck because it was 80,000 a point, and they couldn't be saved. Now they can be saved because there's money circulating through the marketplace. So that is a huge component of this system. Is we want you to throw stuff at the wall. We want you to try something new, right? Because we're all locked into this is the way it is, and this is the only way to win, and this is how it has to be. This gives people more creative freedom, and if you make a mistake, just get it back, right? Because the odds that you're going to sell your pass strength, 5 pass strength, and in the time that you sold that 5 pass strength goes up 80,000 a point, that's probably unlikely, because if it's gone up 80,000 a point, well, that's making that attribute even more lucrative to sell if you're in need of money and need of cash. So we so desperately needed checks and balances to the system, and I could not be more excited to see how it's all going to shake out. And some people are already pointing out, oh, well, I could just do this and create this exploit and do this and create this exploit. Listen, I don't think there is an exploit for having money in your bank, because you can still only progress +3. But if you're rich in progression dollars, congratulations, right? That means that you can do a lot of things. That means you can do a lot for your teammates. And that means your team in the long term can be successful. I don't think there's any problem with that. And as long as the system continues to perform in the way that it's performing, we will finally have money, which was the missing component, money and checks and balances, the missing component to unlocking what we were hoping that we get out of this system in the first place. So I'm so excited about seeing how that's all going to play out this season.
Me too. Another thing I'm excited about seeing play out is that players have an ability to donate money to rising star players, or anyone on the team that's kind of struggling, and I think that's a great idea. But I want to know, percentage wise, in your opinion, how many people players do you foresee actually doing that, actually selling some of their attributes just to help someone else?
Well, they'd be giving money out of the bank. They wouldn't be. Well, I get what you're saying. Yeah, they could be getting funds in order to sell to somebody else. So I get what you're saying. To me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if one person does it or if 500 people do it. It's just an option, right? And it's something that is not a huge burden, on the league to do. And it's something that if you want to do it, you can. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. If you are pressured by your team that you should do something with it, well, tell them that's not their call, right? But if it's something that you want to do, that you're sitting on, I mean, I was going through some of these banks and I was like, man, what's everybody complaining? Look at all this money in here. I mean, there's some people with quite a bit of money, but they've been holding on to it because as soon as they spend it, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason why they have that money is because they've been saving a lot of money over the course of the last couple of seasons, and that's the only reason why they have it. But as soon as they deplete that bank, it would vanish just like that, right? And so you're holding on to it, but to be able to get money in chunks, right, in waves, is something that has not happened before. And so I think that if people want to do it, I think that's great. I'm glad that there's an option for them, but no one should feel pressured to do it if they don't want to. I mean, it's your money. You get to spend it how you want.
Okay. So reading your article,
I just dumped all that water all over my desk.
Tell me you didn't spill anything on the electronics, man.
Tell me you didn't... all over them.
Man,
this is just how life goes.
I'll give you a minute. To get something to clean it up, man.
Thank you.
Yes. Hey guys, I'm gonna play some music and we'll be right back, okay? All right.
might say she get it from her mama. I'ma say you got it right. Body rude is unpolite. Don't be in a humble type. Tell me, is you down? Cause I'm trying to go up tonight. Hoes and hoochies left and right. I just wanna live in a fantasy. I think we deserve it right. Top of the memories I've ever made in my life. Permanent ecstasy. The ladies is pimps tonight. Living inside a dream. Let's play where the love is like. I put that on my mama, on my hood. I look fly, I look good. You can't touch my bag, wish you could. I look fly, I look too good. Put that on my mama, on my hood. I look fly, I look good. You can't touch my bag, wish you could. I look fly, I look too good. I'm so deep in my bag like a grandma with a peppermint. They say, oh, she smell good. That's just cause I'm heaven sent. Sex game goes stupid, stopping like a toothpick. Man, I tell the truth, your opinion is irrelevant. But I know you think I'm fine. Might be too fine to hit it from behind. Reflection in the mirror, don't decline. I can't even lie. I put that on my mama, on my hood. I look fly, I look good. You can't touch my bag, wish you could. I look fly, I look too good. Put that on my mama, on my hood. I look fly, I look good. You can't touch my bag, wish you could. I look fly, I look too good.
What is up?
I have a lid.
What's up, everybody? We are back, and Cam has a lid, a spill-proof lid. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, man. Safety first.
And hey, quick shout out to all my June 3rd birthdays in the SFL. Tim Hackett, Nate Hall, Bryant Dynasty, Bullet Boletsky, and Berto Demora all share our June 3rd birthday. If you out there also have a June 3rd birthday and want to be added to the group DM, feel free.
Love it. Happy birthday, y'all. Early birthday at that. I guess I'm going to have a few phone calls to make or a few DMs to drop. But, of course, Cam is always going to be first.
Have people guess my age in the chat, AJ, and see if they can.
Ooh, that's interesting. So, how old is Cam going to be turning tomorrow?
Guess Ashley's too.
I'm so scared. Because, see, what happens is they're going to see all that gray up here, and they're going to be like,
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, while they're putting their answers in the chat, as to how old is Cam? Let me go back to my questions. Where was I? Okay, so I did see you kind of having a discussion with someone in another server. And I kind of wanted to ask this question specifically. So kind of read up on it because I do have radio listeners that may not have read your articles. That is available on simulationfl.net. You can read all kind of articles, get links to our games, get links to a lot of different things that we do on and off the field. However, this was in the article. Now, I don't have my glasses on, so let me go ahead and blow this bad boy up. Cam, better go ahead and get your readers on right now, honey. Go ahead and get you some readers. Okay. Effective in season 23 and beyond, teams can only have non-running back and fullback ball carriers in the running back fullback positions for a maximum of 10 carries per game collectively as a team. If a team goes beyond 10 carries in a game to non-running back fullback players, the coaching staff will receive a two-game suspension, and their playbooks for the 2 weeks can only come from previous submitted game plans not in violation of this rule. If suspensions impact the postseason, then it will be the entire then they will impact the entirety of the team's postseason run that season. If it occurs in the championship, the team staff will serve a 6-game suspension the following season. The suspensions double after each offense. Oof. Um, so what does that suspension entail? Does that mean the games are forfeit? Is there a cap hit? And in some cases, will there be a lifetime ban?
Well, as suggested by some of my greatest fans in a different place, there should be a lifetime ban for trying to win a championship with an exploit of any kind, really. I mean, when you really think about it, I don't disagree, and that's fine. You know, if that's the type of person I have to be to get respect, I guess so. I think it's outrageous to have to do something like that to people, but if that's what I have to do, I guess that's what I have to do. I think it's kind of disgusting, honestly. But I think that a number of ball carriers can be fun. I think it's fun when Chad Rowland gets a carry on the goal line and tries to score a touchdown. I think it's fun when Ron Haynes, gets a toss outside, on 1st and 10 and get him rolling downhill. I think that's fun. I think this league should be fun. But we can only have as much fun as fun stops when people are watching the games and going, that's not football. That doesn't make any sense. They're doing this for a tactical advantage. They're doing this to exploit something. We feel like our win is being taken away from us, and we feel like this isn't fair, right? Because we weren't necessarily expecting this, nor should we have been, because we're expecting to play football with our opponent, not game the system with our opponent. And so I think that there's a line there. Now, does humanity have the self-control to meet that line? Well, I want to give them an opportunity to have self-control and be a responsible adult. And look, I'm not saying this has nothing to do with Florida in the championship game. They didn't do anything wrong. They were trying to beat fire with fire. I said it on the broadcast. It was a great game, very good strategy, all that stuff. This has nothing to do with Florida, right? It's just Florida just happened to do it in a manner in which they feel like they had to. Because Florida didn't do that all season long. It's not like they were doing it all the way up until the game. They weren't throwing it in everybody's face. And neither was any other team. But when push came to shove, they chose to do that. And they essentially showed either their hand or the hand of every other team out there. And I knew when I saw it that people would take the attitude, which they've taken for 11 years, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And I didn't want other teams joining them because that's not fun. It's not fun to be a running back and watch a tight end get 25 carries. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like sometimes things are more simple than we make them out to be. Does that look right? No, it doesn't look right. So let's not do that. Let's not do that. And I could have put wide receivers stamina down to nothing or tight end stamina down to nothing. Well, guess what? They would have put a strong safety back there to get it would have never stopped. You just Just have self-control, be a responsible adult, and follow the rule. Don't worry about if some crazy thing happens that's out of your control, and then all of a sudden a wide receiver gets 15 carries because 5 players got hurt and somebody got subbed out and something weird happened or whatever. Everybody knows that you're not trying to do something. You're not trying to gain an advantage, and that you're not trying to be cunning, right? Just have a good time, be a responsible adult. I don't think that that's such a hard thing to ask. I don't think that I should have to be a master dictator to lay down the hammer on people that don't know. If you respect the league and you respect what we're trying to do here, and you have respect for your opponents and everyone else around you, then you won't exploit something. And if you do, then you'll get a suspension. So Ashley, your question, what does that suspension entail? I don't think that it's any big deal. I think that for 2 games, you have to play with a playbook that you've previously submitted. That means that you don't get to specifically game plan for an opponent. That's all that means. So if you submitted something in week 11 of last year that had no problems with exploiting the rule and was a playbook that worked out for you in the past, I have no problem running that playbook. We don't have to go generic playbook. We don't have to make everybody out to be, we don't have to demonize and weaponize these people. But if people use demonization and weaponization on our product and on their opponents and other people, well then, they probably should leave. But that's not who I'm trying to be. That's not what I'm trying to do. And I think by and large, everyone does have respect for the game. And we just don't want to see people in the moment that they decide we're going to win cheap. We don't want to make that decision. I desperately need people to be able to make that decision on their own, so I know who I'm working with. Because if you can do the honorable thing in those moments and you can not do those things, then I know that I'm working with somebody that, above all, is here to represent and replicate the beautiful game of football as we know it today.
Okay.
And I just, sometimes I get very, very angry that I am somehow supposed to be the authoritarian that keeps law and order. That should not be up to one person on this world. There can be other people that have the ability to have self-control and be able to manage themselves. I think it's outrageous that would have to fall on one individual who only cares about those things. And it's just such a ridiculous argument. But it just makes me mad, Ashley. It's just so frustrating. Like, just come on. Does it look like football or not? We all know it as viewers, what looks like football and what isn't. And viewers can't stand when it happens in the moment. So let's not do that, okay? So anyway, that's how I see it. Your punishment is that if you're trying to game plan for a specific opponent, you don't get that right. You've lost that right. I don't want to see you lose the next game 50-0 because you're playing some generic book, right? And you don't get it. I don't want to see that. I want to see good competitive football, but you just lose the control that you've been given by being able to customize your game plan however you want. You lose that control because you are not responsible enough to have it. So I have to take your toy away and put you in timeout. That's how it feels like. And it shouldn't be that way. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that. But if we do, then I'll be the babysitter to the toddler, if that's how it has to be.
I mean,
I say that as I take a drink of water and I think, a baby probably would have spilled their water too. So who am I, right?
Flailing around just. What you're saying does make a lot of sense. Now, anyone that's in the chat, if you have any questions, any follow-up questions, anything that has been said at this point, or if you have your own questions, feel free to put it in the chat and I will display them across the screen. After I finish up with these, I have, and it'll be interesting to know if there are any more questions that have arisen because of you explaining things the way that you are. One more question on that though. Why was 10 the magic number? For how many times a non-running back / a fullback could be used during the game?
Well, I just think about diversity in play calling, and I think
Mhm.
about how many times, you have 65 offensive plays in a game. Let's say that half of those are runs and half of those are passes, just for simplicity's sake. So that means that you've got 32 and a half carries in a game. So if your running back has 10 and your backup running back has 10, and you have another person in your offense that has 10, then you have a balanced football team. Or you have a running back that has 10, and then a backup running back that has 6, and then a fullback that has 7, and then, a wide receiver that's got 3 or 4, and then maybe a lineman on the goal line gets 2 or 3, right? That's balance. That's not something that doesn't look like football, right? And I think that once you go beyond those double digits, you start to see where people are obviously using a gimmick or a tactic as their primary form of offense. And this is not in real football. This is not a primary form of offense. This is a wrinkle of offense. And so it should be reflected as a wrinkle in the offense in the actual game that we are seeing. And I think that that number takes into account that depending upon your opponent's game plan, it could call something maybe a little bit more or a little bit less than you initially intended it to. Game flow as well. When you think about, like, if you put in a different ball carrier on 3rd and 1, like Alamo City did with Yale, Montana in a few games last season, right? If you put him in on 3rd and 1, how many 3rd and short situations are you going to have in a game? Realistically, you're not going to have more than 10, right? I mean, if you have 12 third downs in a game, they're not all going to be 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1. And so it's not going to call that formation or that package. It's going to call something different. And then you're not going to see, that component, that wrinkle of your offense in there as much. And I think that 10 makes it very difficult for someone to say, okay, I'm going to put this in on 1st down or as a regular part of my offense, because what happens if I'm in my regular offense too often? I'm going to get myself into trouble here, and so I'm not going to take that risk of making this wrinkle a regular or major part of my offense, because it really it shouldn't be. And the only reason why I would is because you're trying to take advantage of the rule system and showing a lack of respect for the league and a lack of respect for your opponent by doing so. I don't think there's anything wrong with diversifying carries and getting, more players involved, especially, again, Ashley, you can clearly see the teams that care about their players and the teams that care about winning over their players, because you may see the best wide receiver getting carries, but that team has 5 wide receivers. Why wouldn't you put your fastest, most agile wide receiver, who doesn't necessarily see a lot of receptions, why not put them in the backfield and try to get them some touches, right? And that's another way that you can show as an organization, look, we're trying to put wrinkles in our offense. We're trying to take some advantage of the rules, but we're also getting all of our players more involved. And we're also not trying to do this just because we think it's going to win us a ball game. And obviously 10 plays out of 130 in a game should not be winning and losing ball games, right? So those are a number of reasons why that number was chosen, just as a factor.
Okay. Good enough for me. So, could you explain a little bit more about where? So my question, I think I probably should have rewritten it a little bit better, but if teams go over cap, and I know that one of your articles mentioned something about debt that the team would face. Could you go over that a little bit more in detail?
Sure. with players getting money now for cuts they are forced to take,
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be balance to a system where players don't get a bunch of money and then the team gets a bunch of money. We don't necessarily want to see that double dip because teams are grossly going over the new salary cap, right? Because that can be a tool that can be used. Oh, if we go $10 million over the salary cap, well, we know we're going to have to make $10 million in cuts. That's going to get $10 million to all of our players. And then if we go even further, maybe the team can get $2-3 million right back. And then we can distribute that even further amongst our players. We don't necessarily want to see that. Just like with everything, Ashley, we give people tools. Now, can they use them responsibly, or are they going to exploit them and make us regret giving people more stuff? Because we want to give people more freedoms and we want to give people more creativity. But if it's used irresponsible, then we have to take the toy away, right? So the balance in that is that if we announce the salary cap for next season as $40 million, let's say, if at the end of the season Arizona is at $43 million, that means they're $3 million in debt, right? That means that for the team to get any money, you would have to be at or under $37 million to wipe your debt, right? So you went to 43. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to 43, or there's nothing wrong with winning now, right? That's the mentality. Like, hey, we're going to go for this. We're loading up on attributes. We're getting close to max. We're going to go out and win a championship. We're going to win now. Has to be a consequence to that. And the consequence to that is that you are incurring debt for your organization. So if you go to 43, the cap's at 40, you would have to be under 37 before you start getting any money. And that debt carries over. So if you do it every year and you go 3 million over, 3 million over, 3 million over, and the cap is 45 million, well, you'd have to be under 36 million that season to get any money as a team. And so as a team, you would be unable to develop other players that may necessarily need money, and you would have to rely on other players on your team to give them money, or you would have to change course and not be able to develop players. And then when you have rookies coming onto your team and you don't really have a surplus of money to help them, or you have UDFAs that you sign and you don't really have a surplus of money to help them, or you hit the free agent market and a free agent on another team is going to get $2 million, but you don't have any money to give them, then the deal that the other team is offering, because they have extra money from being below the salary cap and not being in debt, they're going to get that free agent and you're not, because you just don't have anything to offer them. So there are a number of reasons why you might want to win now and go over the salary cap and try to max out. I mean, obviously it could yield bigger payouts for players, for your players as well. So there's a certain strategy to that, but there's also a certain strategy to, hey, there are consequences for going all in, and that needs to be reflected in the system. So it's not going to start this offseason. Obviously, teams did not know that. They could not have known that.
Right.
It was never told to them. So we're not going to just immediately implement it. That we can't. That's just not fair. But, moving forward, that's something that teams can expect, so that teams are progressing responsibly as well. Like I said, it's not a huge deal to go above and beyond the cap because you're chasing maxes or you're chasing a championship, or you're progressing some high dollar things that are pushing your cap higher. But there are consequences to every action, and that would be the consequence of that action.
Okay. And speaking of that, and it kind of ties into my next question a little bit. So Henry McGee. Now, in your article, you mentioned Henry McGee and you mentioned Nate Brown. First question is, do you think that there will be any impact on the construction of player contracts if, ATO's Henry McGee would wait until his stamina, like, will wait to cut his stamina right before week one. So then that means the contract have already been built, and then at the last second he decides, okay, well, I want to cut this um right before week one. Do you foresee that that could be a problem?
The cuts, the money distributed for cuts happen at roster lock. So once you get the
Okay.
roster lock, you can't adjust it, right? So it doesn't, we're not looking at the amount that you cut off of any particular attribute. It doesn't matter to us. What matters is where is your salary at the end of season 22 and where is it starting at season 23? And what is the difference? And
Okay.
whatever that difference is, that's the money that you get, right, as a player. So it doesn't matter if you do it June 10th or June 26th. All that matters is what is it going into season 23 and what was it at the end of season 22. And that's how you get the money. So there's no advantage to waiting till the last second or anything like that. It doesn't do anything. There are different, like I said in the article, if you're changing positions, well, maybe you cut an attribute before you change the position. Maybe it's advantageous to do so before you change it, or you change the position and then you cut the attribute down in a restructure or whatever to get you more money. That's a strategy. And depending upon the position, depending upon what you're cutting, depending upon what the cost is of the old position to the new position, could depend on whatever the advantage is. There is no one size fits all generality to make about the system, but there's obviously better ways to do it. But it all depends on the player, the position, what their attributes are, what the market is, by design, right? Because if there was a clear-cut way, we should do this every time, no matter what, that's going to work, well, then that's when exploits happen, right? So you try to create a system that is so unique and so original and individualistic that there really is not a one-size-fits-all exploit. It's just a better way of doing business, if that makes any sense. And
Okay.
then there's a strategy to that too. I want front offices and the people that are behind recruiting players and signing players and being progression wizards and cap wizards and all that. Hey, they matter to building a championship too. And I think that should be a major component of winning an SFL title, along with the coaching on the field. So that'll continue to be valuable for us.
Okay. Looks like the Monsinians has a question for you. So the salary cap space has increased from 35 to 37 post plus for all teams. Yes.
That's correct. Denver and Lexington had cap penalties because they did not fulfill stat requirements, but everybody else is good. So yeah, 37 to 58, something like that.
Okay. Awesome. See how easy
So
that
for
was? All you
Houston,
gotta do is just ask.
Ashley, I'm glad that Damon said something, because Houston was another one of those teams that their inflation was very small. And so all of a sudden they just found $2 million worth of money. Because their players did not get a lot of inflation because of leadership. The players aren't necessarily going to reap the rewards of that inflation, but the team will, right? Whereas Florida's players might reap the benefit of that inflation to leadership. Houston's team will benefit from that inflation of leadership, because they may now have some extra money that they're not going to use, or not going to need, which they can distribute. So again, checks and balances.
I like it. Let me see. Did I just lose my question? So when it comes to, I think I did. Hold on one second. Oh, the second one, because I mentioned Nate Brown from Baltimore. So why would it benefit a player like Nate Brown to shed attributes during the season and Henry McGee in the off season? And how would a player know the difference? So what is something a player could remember to be like, okay, well, maybe this is what I need to just hang on to until, to get more
Sure.
value for more
Sure.
bang for the buck, should I say?
All right. Here's probably the simplest way to think about it. If I have an attribute that is very expensive in season, then I should sell it in season. If I have an attribute that I have a lot of, then I should sell in the off season. Because if you have a lot of something, then the more that you cut from it, the more it's going to bring your cap hit down. But if you have something that the market wants, then you sell it in the market, right? So if Henry McGee has a bunch of speed, but the market doesn't care about speed, well, then he should sell it in the offseason. Now, in Henry McGee's case with speed, well, the market cares about it a lot, and he also has a lot of it, so it's not as cut and dry. But if you have a lot of something like O.J. Bruin's scramble, right, the market doesn't necessarily care about it. Scramble for a quarterback is relatively cheap. So it wouldn't make sense for O.J. Bruin to sell scramble during the season because the market doesn't care. But O.J. Bruin has a lot of scramble. So he should sell that in the offseason because he has a lot to get back for, if that makes any sense. And teams and general managers and these type of individuals in the front office, they should be looking at these things, to better help your player. And I can't really release a guide because it's different for every player and every position, depending upon their contract and all that stuff. And so it can't. There's no blueprint. There's no sheet that I can give people to say, okay, here's exactly what you should do in every exact situation, by player, by position. I can't do that. It's not the way the team should approach it either. They should be looking at, if I was in a team front office, the first thing I'd be saying is, okay, how many players do we have? Right? Do we have the 23 minimum? Right? Are we good there? Because if we don't have 23, then we can't get money for being under the cap, because that's what you need that player minimum requirement in order to get that advantage. So I'm saying, okay, do I have 23 players? And the second thing I'm saying is, do we have to make any cuts to our players, right, to get under the cap? If we have to make cuts to our players, what is the least amount of things that we can cut to get the most amount of benefit to our players, right? Like, if I'm $400,000 over cap and I have one player who, if they cut 2 points of an attribute, that they would net 400,000, then all I had to cut on my whole team was 2 points off of one guy that got 400,000. And now I'm under the cap. Whereas if you don't realize that, then you might be cutting a lot of stuff from more people to try and get to that 400,000 because you didn't even realize that you could have just gotten a couple points off of that attribute over there, and it would have done a job, right? And then the next thing you're asking yourself is, okay, I don't have to make cuts, but does it benefit my team to make these cuts? Will my players get a lot of money for making these cuts, and would they be able to just simply buy them back, right? If they can make $400,000 and it doesn't cost that much to get it back, well, then they can get right back to where they were and have money in their bank. And so it might be a benefit for me to take cuts. And if we take cuts and as a team and we are under the salary cap, then our team is going to get money for those cuts. And then we're going to be able to use that and distribute that to our players, right? And give them rewards. It's a system that is there for the taking, right? It's there. The money is there. The possibilities are endless. It's just a matter of how you want to approach it as a team. And the nice thing, Ashley, is that there's no expiration date. You can make these cuts whenever you want, as frequently as you want, right? But it's all there. Whatever the market says or whatever their contract is, that money is there. So, I understand that to some it may make their head spin. Oh, this this is so difficult. This is way too hard. This is so confusing. I can't keep up, yada, yada. Well, that's the game. That's part of the game, right? We're trying to have the players' best interests at heart. And how do we do that? By allowing the players to choose how they make money, not just giving them more money, because that doesn't fix the problem, because all the attributes are still incredibly expensive, right? So that doesn't fix anything. So, but if they sell it off and they make money for selling it off, well, now we have some balance and some excitement. So, if I'm a front office, those are the steps I'm taking. Just the simple steps of how many players do we have? Do we need to make cuts, and where do we best make them? And do we want to take cuts, and how can we take advantage by making those cuts and actually being under the salary cap and not caring, right? Not monetizing, not monitoring either. I'm blanking on the word, but optimizing your cap, optimizing your players so that they're getting the most bang for the buck on the attribute side, and finding those sweet spots. And obviously, with every player, it's different. So I can't wait. Ashley, it's going to be so fun.
Yeah, it's definitely going to call for some creativity, and it's definitely going to call for like research. You're not going to be able to just, I mean, you could throw something against the wall and see if it sticks, but in order to get really good and to have a deeper understanding, you're going to have to take that time. So hopefully, team staff members and owners, spending time trying to get a deeper understanding of things so they know how to guide their players in the future. Um, Only a couple more segments of questions that I have for you, and then I'll let you go because I know you're kind of getting over a cold, so I don't want you to, mess your windpipe up anymore. Yeah, but
I need it. In like a
SFL.
month.
What'd you say?
I said I need it in about a month. Hurry up, Can you hear me, Ashley?
Anyway. So when will we start seeing bids for the new potential SFLM teams, and how many teams are you planning on adding to the SFLM for season 10?
Well, that'll happen in the postseason. So you're looking at an October, November timeframe.
Okay.
For those applicants. Our current 8 minor league teams will be continuing their season throughout 2024 up until the draft. So, there's no changes there. Right now, we have 6 teams that are moving up into the pros.
Right.
Philadelphia and San Jose are our last 2. Philadelphia has done some great things organizationally. They were a little, I would say, a little early in terms of being ready to move up into the SFL. But, I think they're getting there. I think that, they've got a great look this season. They've built a great staff. There's a lot of good people over there. And so, right now it would be, I'm looking for 6 teams. But if Philadelphia, had an opportunity to take over for somebody else in the SFL, then we would be looking for 7 teams. San Jose right now is not interested or ready for the jump. So they're going to stay in the minor league no matter what. So I'm looking for a max of 7 teams, unless something were to happen, God forbid, to San Jose. But looking for 7 teams out there. And look, Ashley, I think I'm going to get over 20 applicants because the amount of excitement there is around this system is a big deal. I think people seeing that, yes, it does work. Minor league teams start in the minor leagues and then they're called up to the pros. This is a way to get into the pro that people can see it, right? And now they see that there's open opportunities. They see teams like Albuquerque and Pittsburgh and Nashville moving up, and they're saying that can be me, right? We can be the next team that gets up there. And so I think we're going to have an incredible application process. And I'm excited to interview some new people and try to continue to improve our melting pot of owners in this league, owners that are coming into the league from the very beginning with the customer first and with a business mindset and a league mindset. We are training these teams. We are helping them understand how to build positive locker room culture. And the most important thing, Ashley, is they're learning lessons on the minor league stage in real time. And people don't know what it's like to own a team until all of a sudden they own one. And then their game starts and they're like, oh my gosh, this feels totally different. We need people to have that experience without it being on such a big stage and such an important moment. And all of our teams that are moving up into the SFL have learned from these important moments. I think it's going to be great. And it starts about October, November.
Okay. Sounds good. And you actually kind of answered my last question about the SFLM. With that, I wanted to know, what were your expectations of the new owners, and they must have, the correct mindset in order to be selected to be one of the new teams. So I totally understand that. You've been saying that for a long time, So I'm excited. I'm excited to see, all of the new teams that are going to be joining. We already have a rivalry apparently in Albuquerque, so it's Arizona and Albuquerque, and we already asked if we could just make sure that we're on the schedule together, So
can't wait.
But switching gears to the Google Form questionnaire that I put out in the league.
Yes.
Now, I want to prerequisite this by saying that my intentions for putting that out was because I'm a part of a lot of different servers, and you are a part of those, a lot of those servers too. And noticing different conversations that have occurred even with our own servers and general chat and things and whatnot. I wanted to ask these specific 5 questions. How are you involved in the SFL? Why is the SFL important to you? How could this be a better experience for you? What letter grade would you give the SFL currently? And last question, what can you do personally to help improve the SFL? So, of course, the Google Forms breaks it down. So I know that 51.9% of all of the responses came from players. 14.8% were from team offers and 14.8% were from team owners. And then the rest were compiled from stats team, broadcast crew, coaches, league staff, and fans. So it was interesting because I wanted to gauge the pulse of the league. We see all these conversations and people, it just seems like it was so negative. But when you're actually looking at the responses, and I want to thank everybody for taking the time out to fill that response sheet out because it's important. We often say we want Cam's attention for something that bothers us. And I think when you have someone that kind of puts something together like that, to give to Cam, I don't know if maybe it was like, oh, well, Cam is not going to read it. Cam is not going to see it. He did. And he got the responses. I gave him the responses. The form was anonymous. So I wanted people to be able to feel comfortable with telling me how they really felt. And with that, I believe a few of those changes kind of helped. Well, we'll go over that. So, for instance, how important is the SFL to you? And Cam, I don't know if you still have your Google Forms pulled up or not, but most people said very important. It's my main hobby. Important. Since joining the league in 2021, I've truly enjoyed myself. I look forward to the progressions, games, hanging out in the locker room. Important. So seven 7 out of 10 on the Rick meter, not sponsored. And a lot of people it's really important. Everybody. And so to you, Cam, when you read forms and when you read responses, like people took the time out to give you the responses, how does that make you feel? And does that really have an impact on the rule changes that could be made? Do people really have a voice?
Well, I think the first thing it does is it sort of reshapes the way that think other people view it from their
Mm.
lens, I guess. What I mean by that is, like, I think on a daily basis, I think about people. Well, I think about people in two ways. The first way I think about it is, um, um, hey, I'm really glad you're here. Um, and I hope that when I'm not here, um, like when me, right, physically not here in front of you anymore, like if I'm calling a game or if I'm doing a show or whatever, that when I leave, they leave. But that's not how it works. You know, people are around all the time, saying things and talking about the SFL and being a part of the SFL and doing SFL things and talking about it and thinking about it. And when I'm not even around, and so I think reading people's responses about how important it is to them, um, it really reflects to me how important it is, that I do know how they feel, how that I do know when they're upset about something, that I do know when they are confused by something or misunderstand something or are excited about something or any kind of emotion at all. If there's a bunch of people out there who just think that, you know, the Monday night show is just the most incredible part of the week, and they look forward to it every single week and they love it, and I have no idea that they love it, there may be some days where I think, I don't even know why I'm doing this, you know? And then on the flip side, if people are angry about something, like I have been waiting to progress this attribute for 2 seasons and I am pissed off, right? This is so frustrating. And if people are angry about these things, and I don't know that they're angry about these things, then I'm missing an opportunity to make it better for them,
Right.
to make this thing that's very important to them be a place of happiness and not negativity. But because everybody's situation is so specific to position, to attribute, to want, to what they care about. Some people, they care about progression more than anything else. That's how they have the most fun. And some people could not care less what they progress. They don't care. They don't even care if they, some people don't even care if they're on the field. Some people really care if they're on the field. So many people have so many different feelings and emotions and priorities and all these certain different things. So when I am able to hear from a customer, any customer, it doesn't matter which customer it is, just any voice, that this is what I love and this is what I hate and this is what I think is beautiful and this is what I think is frustrating and this is what I think could be improved and this is what I think has no hope, and this is all these different feelings that they have. The more I have of that, the more that I can read and go, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that before? They're all these people. And yeah, I did go into the whole, I mean, you don't think that for some reason I get Chris Altair and Keith Wheeler confused. I think it's because they're both tight ends on the same team and they were both rookies or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it was Chris that I had like a 3-hour conversation with about progression. If you don't think that conversation had an impact on the rules that came out to start selling points and getting money for those points and being able to purchase things a little bit more readily, but not create a yo-yo progression system where you just get a bunch of stuff and then lose a bunch of stuff and then get a bunch of. We didn't want that, right? So, like, those conversations have a profound impact on how we're going to fix this, and that it's a problem, right? That players are voicing their concerns. Now, it's frustrating for me as a CEO when people voice these concerns in a I guess I don't want to say a hostile way, but it's kind of like
Negative.
getting ganged up on. Like there's 8, 9, 10 people just all in a conversation, just slinging arrows. Like this. I understand that you're also trying to figure out who else agrees with you, and if other people feel this way. But at some point, we've got to take those thoughts collectively and try to do something with them, right? We can't just. I don't. If I'm feeling overwhelmed by complaints, and I feel like the only way that I'm going to come up with a solution is if I come up with it, and otherwise, like it's all on me, that the pressure is all on me, well, then it's going to feel a little bit more deflating, and I will have a higher likelihood of just shutting down and saying, sorry, guys, I don't know. There's just so many people that are frustrated. I don't know how to fix this because there's so many different ways to fix it, but there doesn't really seem to be any sort of leading consensus here, right? So I can get somewhere. And sometimes having in-depth conversations with one of those people that was upset, that can help me kind of understand, well, what are the biggest points of contention here? It's kind of like when you vote for president, there's like 100 issues on the ballot, and the odds that your number one issue are going to be a candidate's number one issue, it doesn't matter who the candidate is probably pretty slim. Like their number one thing is just not going to be your number one thing. So me trying to understand, okay, where do we start with a problem? What is the biggest point of contention here? What is the biggest frustration? Because I may not be able to fix everything, but let's start somewhere, right? How do we get to that point? And the one thing that players continue to voice their frustrations with and their displeasure with is that I feel hopeless. I cannot catch up. I can't. These players are better than me, and I will not be able to catch them. It's over. Like, there's no point in me trying. Hopelessness is the worst thing just in life. When you have no hope, it's just, there's nothing left, Hope is what keeps you going when there isn't all that other stuff. But if you don't have any hope, it's over, And that hopelessness yielded conversations about, well, how do we give you hope? And obviously, some players will say, well, you give us hope by just letting us progress more. It's like, well, that's not really solving the problem, because that means that other people are going to be able to progress more. And then you're still going to be behind and you're still not going to have any hope. They say, well, what if we progress and then the other people don't get to progress as much? Well, then you're just going to be just like them. And then there's going to be a new batch of people that don't have any hope. So that doesn't work either. Like, we have to think about, okay, well, what can generate hope for everyone? What gives everyone an advantage, but also, and a disadvantage? The disadvantage to being a player that doesn't have a lot of attributes is you're not really a seller in the marketplace, right? Like, if you're a 70 overall player, you're not a seller in the marketplace. Why would you be a seller, right? Unless you have one thing that you have a lot of, but that doesn't really help you. Mm-hmm. So there needs to be another way to help you. Well, the league could give you a bunch of money, but I would rather the league not just be giving handouts, because then people are going to say, well, why did they get this handout, but I didn't get this handout? Or why did you make a decision to make the cutoff line at this? No. I don't want to be in that space. I would rather the teams choose who to hand like money to, who to help develop. Because if a team cares about your development and your long-term future in the league, they're going to care about that way more than I am, because they play for you. You know, you're on their team. They want to win. They want you to be good. I mean, I want you to be good, but I don't. The only motivation I have is your happiness. But the motivation that a team has is to win games, and that's a powerful motivator. And so, if the team is now invested in you, and they have a way to be invested in you, that's way better than the league just saying, "Okay, it looks like you need more money. Here you go." It's way better, because your team is no longer invested in you. Then go somewhere where they will be invested in you, where they do need you, where they will care about you. And because ultimately, if a team doesn't care about any of its players, I want them to not survive in this league. And some of the teams that didn't care about their players are no longer here, because they didn't care enough, or they didn't know how to care, or they thought that they cared, but it wasn't like the other teams caring. So these are like this, all these conversations stem from, hey, I'm a customer and I would like to speak my mind. And there are easier ways for me to, the absolute best way to speak your mind to me is to schedule a call and give me half an hour of your time. Tell me what is on your mind. Because if you care enough to pick up the phone and talk to me, I care enough to talk to you. That shows me that, you really care about this thing. And everybody knows when they get on the phone with me, the odds that I'll give you only 30 minutes are pretty low. Unless I have another prior engagement or whatever, I'm going to keep talking with you until we have explored everything that you want to explore.
True.
Because it matters. It's important what you have to say. If you don't feel comfortable with that, or you don't really know me that well and you don't know how that's going to go, sending a DM, creating a suggestion. I don't comment a lot in the suggestion section of Discord, but I read a lot of suggestions, and I may not say anything because I feel like if I say something, then I'm going to seem argumentative, and then it's going to seem like I'm not really listening to you, but I'm just responding to you and shutting you down. It's not, excuse me, that's not really where I want to be. But what you're saying in there could spark an idea. And if I feel like, oh, maybe I should go back to them and say, hey, what do you think of this? Then that can help too. But the worst thing you can do is just not let me know how you're feeling, because how am I supposed to make this very important thing in your life better if I don't really know how you feel about it? I lost a team last year because the ownership group was upset with me and I didn't even know. They were upset for 2 months. They bottled it all up inside, and then they just exploded on me. And their locker room exploded on me. And I was totally blindsided. And I think to myself, how in the world could I have, eased your pain, or like even tried to fix this for you if you're not willing to communicate with me? How can you expect your problems to be fixed in life if you just sit there and don't tell anybody? So communication is key. I love this stuff. I read every one of those 27 responses. I wish there would have been more. It was, and look, there were some complaints in there that I just can't fix. 2K4 sucks. Go back to APF. I can't fix that. And I can't fix that because I'm not going to put in every single play in a playbook. I'm not going to make sure that every single team's substitution and depth chart is properly correct. I'm not doing it. It's too much. It was too much of a burden. I shouldn't have been doing it in the first place, but I was trying to keep the peace. I had to choose it for me. So no, it's not happening. If you want APF, go start your own league and find out how much work it is. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best, but I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. And I do this full time. This is a full-time job, and I'm telling you that it's too much. And that's nothing against APF. That's just everything against the fact that it just didn't have what we needed. That's all.
At the end
So like
of the day.
there are things. What Ashley?
No, I was saying at the end of the day, you had to, to go with what was going to be a better product all around, for you to even continue to provide this source of entertainment for us.
Yeah. So I mean, there were
things had to
responses. There were responses that I can't fix. I can't make you happy. I can't make it better for you. I just can't. I sometimes you can't. I mean, you can't make everybody happy. And I feel.
So I'm looking at even some of the responses. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm getting a
Go
lag.
ahead, Ashley. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what.
I'm sorry, dear. No, you're good. I'm sorry. It seems like I'm talking over you. But I'm getting, it's like a lag where you're pausing. So I'm thinking that that's a moment for me to kind of jump in for a second. One was, how could the SFL be a better experience for you? And I believe that's kind of what you're referring to, just not being able to kind of please everyone. But there are some things, like the make attributes cheaper. Okay. But make the gameplay fair, which, that person went on to say things that I'm not really gonna, I'm not about that. But basically make the gameplay fair. Some people said everything is great. Some people were wondering if stats could fix their sheets. There must be some issues with some of the sheets that stats teams have at times. And the one person, this is interesting. I don't know who this is, but I really would. I kind of want to know, but then of course they don't have to tell me. But I honestly can't answer this question because the experience is what you make it. If you don't keep up with your player progress, you won't have fun seeing your player either get torched or beat up all game. If you don't talk to any of your teammates, you won't have fun either. It's just all about how you keep upgrading your player and socialize. And a bit of experience is nothing you couldn't ask for. It's perfect, and the AI, you cannot change it. A lot of what the AI does is because there are certain stats that aren't high enough levels, and you need to upgrade it. And people have to understand that once they do that, there really shouldn't be any complaints. Um, so yeah, All Pro 2K8. Yeah, I see that one that you were talking about. Just go back. Remove a lot of the negativity. Somehow, separating things would be beneficial. I don't know what that looks like though. Kind of want to know what that means too. Simplification using Madden '07 mods, less serious, longer contracts. Some people didn't even have an answer at this time. So it is interesting because even with the letter grades, the only low grade I saw was a C. Um, Even some people did on a scale of 1 to 10. The lowest I saw was an 8. So it just, I think it does depend on the experience that you are having specifically, and that you're choosing to have. Every time I speak with someone, I tell them that you make your experience. Like for my money, I want to be able to do everything. I want to be able to experience everything. Some people just are fine with just being a player. They just want to sit back and just kind of watch how everything works. That's fine. But the experience is what you make it. But I do see that you are making strides to try to take what people are saying, like the fairness, um, that sort of thing into consideration. So I hope that other people can see that too.
I think the biggest two things from that survey was that they want things to feel fair, and they want the negativity to knock it off. There was a lot of that for those in those two categories. I think that the first one, gameplay being more fair, I think that is the responsibility of the league, and I think we've taken steps to do that. I think that, nothing is ever going to be perfect, but we had a lot of games last year that had terrible offensive performances. We had a lot of dead teams that we knew were folding up, and they were just kind of playing out the stretch. That was very unusual, in the league. We also had a lot of teams at the top just crushing people. And so it was very top heavy, and then the bottom of the league was really rough. And so we had a lot of lopsided games, and it was not, I was not pleased with how things were looking. We did take some steps in the right direction, but I was shocked that at the end of the season, yards per carry for starting running backs was 3.8. Shocked. That's not where I want it to be. 4.2 is the NFL average, or I think it was 3.7. 4.2 is the NFL average. That's where I want us to be. Now, I'm hoping that with some leadership adjustments, some attribute adjustments, I think that when you look across our league and you look at all the defensive backs compared to all the wide receivers, most of our talent in this league is on the defensive side of the ball. I think wide receivers need some help. I think we need to get a lot more talented wide receivers out there, but a lot of attributes have been so expensive they can't afford them, right? They can't get them. Well, that's gone, right? And so I think that when you start to see some of these players around the league getting these attributes that they really haven't gotten to progress for a very long time, I think we're going to start to see some improved gameplay, because we really, kind of need that shot in the arm. And so I think all the changes that we've made, most specifically to the player progression system and the buying and selling points and getting money into these banks, I think that is going to be a very underrated thing that will help improve our gameplay and help improve the fairness in our league and the diversity in our league. I think the negativity is squarely on the leadership of our teams. Are you going to be a positive force in our community, or are you going to be a negative force in our community? If you have negative things to say, then come to me and say them privately, but saying them publicly is only fanning the flames of people that see that you're unhappy, so why should they be happy? Negativity is poison. And I want to see our teams understanding this and stepping up and realizing that we can be a force for good while also attacking as an organization, the things that need to improve, the things that we can improve on. And Ashley, from this point forward, if you are a team leader and you are a force of negativity in the community, you've lost my respect and you no longer have a voice with me, period. So if you wonder why nobody's listening to you in the league level, it's because of that. And I only want to speak to team leaders that are a positive force in our community. That's it. It's very black and white to me, cut and dry. There is a level of respect that we need to have for this shield, and if you don't have it, then you don't have me, basically. So I think that in combination, I think that the changes that we've made, I think will have a long-term positive effect on our gameplay, and we're going to see a great season 23 with 25 teams that are very hungry to compete. So excited, breath of fresh air, right? To have a lot of new faces, and to have a lot of new teams and a lot of player movement and all this stuff. It should be incredibly exciting. And then I think that it can't just be, me out there trying to sing Kumbaya, me and you, I should say, Ashley. It can't be me and you out there singing Kumbaya and trying to get people to look on the bright side of things. We are never going to attack mental health correctly that way. We are never going to attack, the poison that way. It's not conducive to success. So I heard those opinions from people's submissions in that poll loud and clear. You want games to be, to feel fair and to feel like there are not exploitations everywhere you look. And you want the negativity to just stop. Can we just stop it? And hopefully we will be able to deliver that more so this season than ever before. So.
Indeed. And it doesn't it would mean a lot to um me personally, especially with being the director of, community relations, if we can just take the time out to just talk to each other first. Because a lot of times things can be worked out, even especially you get emotional, you get heated, you say something that you didn't like, or you just lost a game and somebody just said you were trash or whatnot. Okay. So, of course, we all know that joking and ribbon and trash talk is going to be a part of it, but there is a line where it does step over to negativity, where it can have an impact on someone's mental, in a negative way. And you we're here to have fun. We're here to kind of escape the real world, because the real world is full of that, right? The real You could turn on the news right now and hear about 15 different negative things that's going to have an impact, whether you know it or not, on
Mhm.
your psyche, on you.
Yeah.
So why would I want to go to a place that I'm spending money to be entertained and to be a part of, and to be a owner or be a coach or be a player, um, if it's going to be the same? Like, I can get
Right.
negativity for free if I just walk outside my door. I'm not going to
Yeah.
pay for it. So I think when people start thinking about how the words that they say, even though they could be saying it with their chest, they could be expressing themselves because they have the right to do so. But you also have to understand that there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction to what you just said. So I would suggest you try to choose your words a little bit more kindly, because Cam, you got a chance to look at the COC um, revisions, that will be coming out pretty soon. Um, so working together, trying to mend fences and trying to mend what is the issue is gonna be vital, because the consequences for not doing that is going to be such to where it'll be more beneficial to you and your team to do the right thing, man. That's it.
Listen,
That's all we're trying to do.
we're a family here. How many communities have been around for 12 years on the internet? Like, are you involved with any of them? Have you been involved with any
Mm.
community on the internet for 12 years?
No, absolutely not.
I
This is the
mean,
only one.
it's uncommon. It is uncommon. And just like other families, um, you got baggage. People are
Hmm.
bent, jaded, offended, you know, just treated poorly. They remember things. Um, they remember conversations that were had. They remember words that were spoken. They remember that DM you sent one time. People remember this stuff, and it it grows. You know what I mean? And the
Yes.
longer we are around, the more baggage that everybody carries with them, including me. I have lots of issues with lots of people because of how I've been treated or the arguments that we've had or whatever the case may be over the last, however many years. It's just natural. You have these issues with these people. Um, and the question is that, are you going to let, I tell people this all the time, are you going to let that person win? Are you going to let that person take your joy out of this product? They're just one person in a world full of billions. If and I tell people, if I allowed other people to take my joy, I would have been out of here 12 years ago. Because from the very beginning, you're going to encounter people that try to take stuff away from you, whether they mean to or not, right? It's just natural. Like, and you become from, I mean, I can point to just 3 or 4 situations in the last 24 hours of people making me angry and people saying things that I just absolutely do not agree with, that just irk me to my core. But what am I going to do? Just walk out and just leave? Because what? They said some things? You can't allow other people to have that sort of mental hold over you. It's a mental health issue. It's a big deal. And I don't want to see people have their joy taken away because General is too toxic. Well, then mute it and continue to enjoy your rays of sunshine. It doesn't have to be negative. It does not have to consume you. If you think your locker room is too negative, then leave. Go to another team. Find some happiness somewhere else if you are not happy. I want nothing more than for everyone to be living their best life. I don't think it's such a hard thing to ask, my teams to care about that, to care about positivity in the public space. It matters. Doesn't mean you kiss my ring or sing Kumbaya all the time. It just means that you know when something is productive and you know when something is not. That's all.
I mean, you just treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah,
I don't know
seriously.
anybody that wants to come in and get yelled at, or, if I'm a coach, if I was actually the coach of Arizona Scorpions, I mean, I would be angry and upset when people come to me telling me I didn't put together a good book. I'm sorry. Do you even sim, bro? Like, do you even do this while you over here trying to tell me
There's no need for
how
that.
I'm trying to do it?
There's no. If a player comes to a coach and says, "Hey, you need any help?" Well, that's different. If a player comes to a coach and says, "Hey, why did we run on every first down?" Like, I want to know. I want to understand why we did that. Well, it's totally different, right?
Yes.
If a player says, "Look, I think that we really should be trying to get X more involved because they're so good and they're so talented, but we just can't seem to get them involved." Why are we not able to? Not, the AI just doesn't No. Like, let's have an actual conversation that is productive. That is going to be much more approachable than someone just saying, like, well, that was a garbage game plan, or we suck tonight, or this doesn't do anything for anybody. And
except cause anxiety. It causes anxiety and stress for the person that you're talking to,
and that's when
especially if they were responsible.
That's when the locker room can pick that player up and say, "Hey, man, I know it wasn't such a good game, but we're gonna do our best next week, and we're gonna try to figure out what happened." And then being able, and a lot of teams do this, they do a good job where they they go back to their teams in their locker room and they say, "Here's what happened tonight from my viewpoint, from my perspective." Now, if they just blame their opponent or say that they got lucky or, blame the AI or do whatever, well, then you're not creating a culture that is going to be able to accept a loss. Because if you're saying, well, the AI just took it from us. If that's the excuse, then every time you lose, you create a culture where losing is unacceptable. Well, that doesn't make any sense because you're going to lose, right? So you have to be able to create a culture where you say, okay, here's what we did that didn't work. Here's why it happened, or why I think it happened. And here's what we're going to do to try to be better. I appreciate everyone, in this locker room that cares about this team. We care about you. Like you said, Ashley, treat others how you want to be treated. Show them that you care, and they will care about you back. Show them that you don't care, and people will reciprocate. So that's how to run a good team. If your locker room, if you're a player out there listening, if your locker room does that, then you are being run by a good team. So, and Takeda's saying that, he's been a little out of pocket when things have gone out of hand. Takeda, you're a player. You literally have no responsibility unless you are just sticking it to the man and not progressing your player. And you know what I mean? Because out of protest, which, look, if your team is treating you unfairly, that's a totally appropriate protest. That's why I put it in, that you can progress simply by just having an active subscription so that a player can do that to show their frustration. But other than that, it's not on you. You have nothing to be accountable for. So if you're upset that you're losing or whatever, well, I mean, sure, go crazy, be upset. There's a difference between being upset and having
Being
displaced
toxic.
anger and being toxic. And when people are unaccountable for their role in something, that is toxic, because it's just pointing fingers and pushing blame. And if you're a player that's, pushing toxicity onto your staff, well, then you're being toxic. If they're pushing toxicity onto you, well, then they're being toxic. These are not environments conducive to positive, happy customers. And I can't run all 32 teams, but if I did, the number one priority would be having happy, positive customers, because I want the customer to be enjoying themselves in a league that we understandably know will result in a loss 50% of the time. That's just how it goes. That's why we play the game, for the highs of wins and lows of losses and all this stuff. But I mean, if you're a person that only has control over your player and there's really nothing else that you can do, it's understandable, to blame the uncontrollable. There's just a higher standard amongst administration. It just has to be there. Otherwise the culture suffers. So it has to get better.
Well, we're going to see how these changes and everything is going to be received, and we're going to see if season 23 is actually going to be an improvement. But hey, this season, of course, it did have some downs. I would say it was still a fun season. People were still figuring things out. You saw some really creative um, books and plays and things like that. People were really kind of showing off a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how the practice and how everything, everyone's been working on off season will showcase at the convention. Speaking of which, before I let you go, I was wondering if there were any other convention updates. Is there anything else that maybe will be going on? Any new events are going to be added? Anything that you kind of want to bring a little bit more light to? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was a little afraid when you were talking about going out there and playing golf in Texas and it's hot. So I was like, that was my concern. But
We are getting out there, and I hope it's done before the sun is highest in the sky. Otherwise, we're gonna be in trouble. There's
roasted.
definitely maybe we should put a swing clock out there. Baseball, put the pitch clock out there. Like, hey,
Yeah.
stop lollygagging around. Swing, hit the ball. Because we got
Get the ball. Let's keep it moving.
to keep this moving before we all keel over. There are things in the works. There will be some what I'd call side events. Lots of things going on. We've talked a little bit about Saturday, during the day, during that golf tournament. The hope is that we'll have some live footage from out at golf, that we will have, some commentary and some social behind all that. So that'll be fun. But for people that are not out there, we have, it's an incredible facility. We have a great pool and a great, swim up bar. And we have our live streaming location all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. there's other things that'll be going on throughout the weekend. Thursday night, I'm sure there's going to be a few different gatherings of groups and things like that, depending upon how many people are there. Um, I've really been kind of in a down period with the convention. We've had a lot going on that the league has needed me elsewhere for, with these rule changes and the portal and all that, getting the off season ready to go. And the illness has not helped me. But over the next couple of weeks, we'll be hitting the convention ground a lot harder. Now that teams have the ability to create contracts, they're going to start signing players, all of that. I don't have anything to do with that, right? So now the teams are all super busy. So now I can be busy somewhere else, and I'm not necessarily needed for the teams to get that going. So at some point, I'm going to have to go to Houston. I need to work with securing a field, one of the many fields that open fields that are around there. They are owned by a company. I need to get permission. I need to understand what the field conditions are, which one is best suited for our flag football game. Figuring out the logistics of, I think we're planning on getting some lunch, getting some pizzas out there on Sunday.
Okay.
At football and everything, so that everybody can get a bite to eat after playing and all that. And figuring out how to get an order of that size and how to best do that in that area. And then working with a hotel, where's our guest list at? Where are our rooms at? Working with AV on the internet, on the setup of the room, on getting that game plan, and then ordering the food and the catering that we'll have for Friday and Saturday and things like that. So I'll have to go to Houston and kind of spend a day getting all that situated down there, and that'll be happening sometime in the next few weeks. So yeah, it'll start revving up again pretty good. Of course, we've got schedule release coming out in a couple days. We've got the full convention schedule, so many incredible games, so hard to squeeze in 12 games over a 3-day period. It's always very difficult, while also having fun in other ways too. Ashley, from past conventions, like especially the one in Houston Saturday. I mean, we were in that room from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and all we did was games, and it was just like, man, I'm the commissioner, and even this is boring. Like we gotta be able to mix this up. We gotta be able to do other things throughout the days, and so it can't just all be games all weekend long. So we have to find that balance, but it makes the schedule real tight, real compact, but also real exciting too. So looking forward to unveiling that, especially the Hall of Fame game. Oh my gosh, Hall of Fame night is going to be so much fun. We're moving it to Saturday this year, AJ, because we've had a ton of problems in the past having Hall of Fame on Friday. Logistics, trying to get everybody in on time and trying to stay on schedule with all the live streams and everything. Forget that. That's now on Saturday night, the focal point, the sort of the climactic component of the week, right? Saturday night. The Hall of Fame game is an incredible matchup, and the class is just great. So happy for guys like Andy Hamilton, who've been on the ballot, and they've just done so much for the league over the course of their career. So it's going to be a blast. A lot of work yet to be done, but now that the off season is rolling on the portal, now I'll finally have an opportunity to work on some of that stuff so that we can be ready for next season.
Hey, I'm excited. I mean, honestly, that opportunity to be out there cannot come fast enough. It's always a good time to be able to hang out with everyone, that you're in contact with and you see. And then when you're there, you have so much fun and you don't want to leave. So when Sunday and Monday comes, you're like, oh, now I'm gonna have to wait a whole another year before I see you again. But it kind of helps to kind of revitalize your love for the league itself, especially when sometimes you can get so caught up in your real life that you kind of take the league kind of takes a back seat because you have to handle things and of that nature. But so good to be out there. I actually want to see a basketball tournament because I've been told by you How long have we known each other? Let me see. It's been a good, what, 5 years? 6? Something like that?
Pre-pandemic, right?
Yes.
You were here before the pandemic. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, 5, 6, 7 years now.
Hmm. And it's funny because all this whole time I've never seen you take one shot at a basketball hoop, but you keep telling me, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I do this." I just want to see it. I'm not judging you either way. I just want to see it. You told me the story the last time we talked. I want to see that.
Maybe Dags can follow me and whoever wants to challenge me out to some hoop in some park somewhere, and we can figure something out on Monday morning or something.
I mean, I'm not doing it unless I got some heels. I'm gonna need some of those Prince heels to be able to do. I can't. I'm not. But it would be interesting to see who would want to challenge you. I believe Type Attack was saying that he wanted to challenge you um in a basketball game if that ever
Bring it
happens.
on. The only one I'm worried about, the only two I'm worried about is Brett and Ethan because they're giants.
Yeah.
I would definitely not have the size advantage in that matchup, and so that would be a concern. Um, but yeah, everybody else. I mean, come on, bring it. I wonder how fast Ty
Ooh,
is in real life
ooh,
because I'm not the
everybody else. I mean, that's gonna be like about 50, 60.
no. There's not
Okay.
that many
See, you
people.
see BJ.
Ashley, after I beat the first couple, there won't be that many people that are wanting to get out there. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Oh.
now, my weakness, I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not. So if you got a lot of speed on me, I could have some problems. But other than that, yeah, I made the first catch and then almost rolled into a cameraman's ankle because I couldn't stay upright. So I'll take a half point for that athleticism. That's I don't get a full point for that.
I will say you did a better. I was a little worried. I didn't know what the performance was going to be like. But when I did see you do that, I was like, okay, he got some game. I just want to see you make a few shots. If I could see you make a few shots, and I think I've had the full cam experience and everything except except when you knocked out 8 guys with one punch. Um, I
That is
don't.
obviously fake.
Huh?
That is obviously fake. That's fake.
Right. So I don't know what 8 dudes you could find to recreate
I'm
that
not
moment.
recreating a fake.
Personally, huh?
It's fake. I'm not recreating that unless they're dead. Unless you find me 8 dead guys, I'll punch 8 dead guys. That's about it. I can't punch them in a
Yeah, I wouldn't
coma.
want to
That's
see
just
you.
disrespectful.
I can't. I can't.
I can't
Oh,
wait for the
Demond.
next flag football game though. Yeah, see, Damon knows what's up. I can't
Okay.
wait for this flag football game. Now, I told all the Houston people, I said, if you're a Houston native and you're playing in the flag football game, you're the captains. So Demond and Joshua Williams, Mike St. Green, Corey Menner, if they're playing, they're the captains. Oh man, if me and Demond are playing 2-on-2, well, then I don't think anybody's winning. Just saying.
Oh,
I mean,
oh.
that's a totally different. Now we're talking.
See, y'all need to get out there and
Although
stretch.
Damon, me and you are both much older than we were last time we played 2-on-2 at Dubai, so I don't know if I should be making that proclamation.
Speaking of which, when I asked the question of how old you're going to be tomorrow, only one person responded, and that was Christian Bagajalupi, and he said that you're going to be 36 tomorrow.
Ooh, just a little off.
Look, yeah,
33.
he's like 4 years off, isn't he?
33. Yeah, he's 3 years old.
Yeah,
Not a bad
oh,
guess.
not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. 33 years old.
Memory's not what it used to be, Ash.
You are 33 years old. How is
I'm
your
just
memory not what it used to be?
I'm just saying, I used to know every single player and where they played and what their position was and all their history and all that other stuff. There's so many players now I could you could pick. You could try me, but I don't think I'd get them all right.
Yeah, it's like what 700 active players,
Yeah,
and then it's
that's what I'm saying.
2,300 people on the server.
My memory is not what it used to be. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, all I'm telling you is just make sure that you eat plenty of these pig ear sandwiches to get the cartilage up in your, the keep your cartilage and stuff in your knees and stuff, limber, keep yourself limber as much as you can because when you hit 40, I'll be 40 on the 26th. So when you hit 40, it's hard to kind of get
How
that
would
stuff
you know
back.
you're not 40?
Huh?
How would you know you're not 40?
Because I'm close. I can already tell.
Well, I don't know what to say to that. I'm not eating pig's ears. So I guess my knee's gonna blow out then.
It's the cartilage. You need to eat stuff that's going to help you, keep that cartilage, especially since you're going to be playing basketball against some of these great individuals from the SFL. I wonder who actually has game though, besides you, like, because people talk about it all the time.
I bet Jay's got game.
Jay Bomber?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jay's an athlete with a capital A. I'm an athlete with a little a. Jay Balmer is a capital A athlete.
When Jay and Brett had that collision.
Woo! Hey, Brett held his own, though. I'll tell you that.
He did, but I thought Jay got the worst. The way it looked like Jay got the worst of it.
Yeah, because Brett is the Jolly Green Giant. I mean, of course Jay got the worst of it, man. Brett, man, I wish I had Brett's height. That must be so fun, be that tall.
I mean, yeah.
I'm decently tall.
I could think of a different. Never mind. Oh no. Here we go. Christian, I know I probably should have said that. Christian says his memory is shot. He remember his face.
That's the funniest thing you've ever said, Christian.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Just ask Eddie what 50 feels like.
Eddie's the reason why I had to have everybody sign the waivers. I can't have people like that blowing out kneecaps and stuff on my watch. Did Eddie play last season? In the flag football game? Did he play?
Yeah, he was out there with y'all.
Oh, forgettable performance. I really don't remember him being on the highlight reel. I'm not sure what happened. Got to get that icy hot.
I mean, he didn't really do much, but he was out there.
Apparently, I didn't know this until after the fact, but apparently Gerald Smith stopped playing because on that first play I ran into him and he was like, "This is crazy. I'm stepping off." I didn't even know that. I didn't realize that. If that's not true, Gerald, please refute it when you see this.
Oh my God. Oh my God, man. But
I didn't even know that's who I ran into until after when he was like, that was me. And I was like, oh, it was a total blur. I was just out there trying to make plays.
Y'all were out there like y'all had full pads on for a second. I was like, y'all better calm down. Y'all got to go home.
Much fun. Actually, I thought it was going to be a flop. I really did. I was just like, you know what? I'm throwing something at the wall. I have no idea how this is going to be. And I thought it was going to be a flop. And it was awesome. It was so much fun. And anybody that didn't get to play last year or didn't see it or didn't get to, oh my gosh, please come out. I know it'll be early on Sunday. You might be hungover, whatever. Nobody cares. Just get out there and you got to see this. It was a blast.
Yeah, I'll be out there. I'll come out there and be the nurse. Because I'm going to have my phone fully charged because either I'm going to have to call somebody to come help or I'll bring some bandages and some water. Help cart you off the field. I'm pretty strong. Drag you off the field so everybody,
Cart me
off the field? Huh?
You're going to cart me off the field?
I'll have to drag you. I mean, I hope not. I hope I don't have to do that for anybody.
Girl,
but I'm gonna be there.
I had a pair of Swiss rolls at 1:30 in the morning last night. I don't think you're going to be carting me anywhere or dragging me anywhere.
I can't.
Only tanks have Swiss rolls at 1:30 in the morning.
Hey, it's nothing wrong with eating Swiss rolls in the morning. I've been known to have some few Swiss rolls and Nutter Butters, a bowl of Frosted Flakes, or maybe some Lucky Charms. So hey, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time out with me. I do want to kind of leave some questions for any other shows that you might be on. I don't know if Eddie and Brett are having the show, um, or if anybody else will be, but um, this was fun. And I do hope that the questions that were asked were helpful. I think the way that you constructed the articles, though, you you kind of explained it so well that any question that you would have had, if you would have taken the time out to keep reading the article, it would have been answered. So
Well,
even with me formulating these questions, I had to come at it from a different angle because it was pretty self-explanatory. So
I think
I appreciate that
I think it
personally.
is and it isn't. That's why I did 25 different ways to get progression money in your bank, because 25 ways is probably not even doing it justice.
Mm.
Um, you could see as you read the article that there were a lot of similar, kind of situations that you might be in as a player or as a team front office. But I think the most important thing when looking at this new stuff, um, the biggest thing you can't do is generalize. Oh, I don't like it because of X. It's different. It's so different for every player and every position and every attribute that there's no way your generalization is true.
Mhm.
It can't. So, don't approach every player the same. Don't approach every situation the same, um, and try to maximize. The it's in the team's best interest to maximize the player's bank and the team's bank. It works for everyone, because when you maximize the player's bank by making bigger, more efficient cuts, you're maximizing the team's bank as well. So both parties are aligned in trying to make it work and trying to make it happen. So it's really going to look good. Really going to be a fascinating season, and can't wait to see how these players improve throughout the season and how they take shape and where we are from week 1 to week 15. It's going to be a blast.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you so much again. Hopefully, if you have time, if the schedule permits, and you have anything else that you want to kind of talk about before the games start, I would love to be able to have you back on. But I do plan on having a live show down at the convention, so maybe I'll be able to get you in there. At that moment, and anybody else that's going to be going to the convention that will not be attending the golf tournament, I'm planning on maybe having a show to kind of entertain the ones that are kind of like just waiting for the games to start, with the excitement. So it's going to be nice. I'm going to save a chair for you, Cam, and I want you to have a good night. Thank you so much, and get you some rest. I don't think people really realize how much you actually do, so I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate you. Great show as always. 313, man. Congratulations on your, continued longevity and success. And, hopefully this show finds you well. This off season finds you well. And, just keep killing it. We'll see you for your birthday in a few weeks. You going to have a birthday show?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
All right.
Maybe. We'll see. If you're gonna be on it, then I'll make sure I do it. And I'll even do you one better. I will eat some weird stuff. Like, oh, I ate something the other day and I thought of you and I was like, I was gonna tell you.
Oh, you should. I want you to. I missed this the first go around. You need to try durian ice cream.
I looked for it. I looked for it and I cannot find it.
Well, there's a reason for that. Apparently.
I actually showed this before I let you go. See, this is the reason why our calls can go from where it's supposed to be only 30 minutes to like 3 hours, bro. Okay, listen. So this is something. This is a snow cone, a specialized snow cone that actually shaved ice, red beans, little green tea, ice cream up top, and a little bit of pieces of green tea cake around the side. So, would you try that?
Yeah.
It was from Korea.
Okay. Not half bad.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen worse. You know, that's on your show. Like, gross. That
Don't be
don't
like
look
that,
half bad.
Cam. Hold on. Don't be like that, because if you
Oh,
feeling that if you
what is
feeling that
that?
adventurous, huh? Oh, those are the jumping shrimp, dear. So, I want to say this is in Singapore. I have to research it again. Um, but I was going to be featuring this on my next show, asking the guests if they would be
Yes,
trying
I
this. But
can't look at that anymore.
these are actually raw shrimp that jump. So they're in like a little porcelain dish when it's served to you. They're served raw. And the only thing is it's like a ceviche. So they have like lime juice, lemon juice, a little bit of other seasonings and vegetables in there. But when you open the dish, you literally have to be careful because they jump out at you. Literally.
Oh my God. Ashley, if it
I
has
mean,
more than 2 legs and it jumps, it gets a hard pass from me.
but you can't
I
get
don't
no
even have
fresher than that.
who cares? Who wants something jumping out at you? I don't listen. I am not what you would call a hunter gatherer. Okay? It's not happening. There's no need for that. I watched this Gordon Ramsay Uncharted on National Geographic. It's a great show.
Love it. I love
Yeah,
that show.
because you really get to see how other people live and you get to see how beautiful the world is. And there's some things that people do for food that I'm just like, I would not live there. Like I wouldn't be able to survive, even if I wanted to. It's just not going to happen.
What
I'm not a hunter gatherer individual. Like
you cannot say what you will and what you won't do. Like I remember seeing those grubs that live inside the wood pulp of trees. I mean, they actually eat the wood pulp. And I've seen like Andrew Zimmerman go and eat them straight out the wood, you know. He said it did taste like what it ate. So a lot of times when you're eating things like bugs and stuff like that, a lot of times it will taste, unless you had the ones I had, they were just fried. They were just like,
yeah, right.
but um they taste like what they had. So if you don't mind a little wood pulp, or if you don't mind a little swamp water, with the nutria here, this might be some good eating for you. I mean, this might actually work out for you because all they're doing is just eating stuff that's in the swamp. It may
Well,
not look, but it may not look that appetizing right now. But if you put some Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce on that bad boy, I mean, I think it'll work out.
you've convinced me,
But
Ashley. Maybe I could be a hunter gatherer.
I'm glad I could help you. I mean, the world may come to that where you have to go out here
Not
and
my
go.
world.
No, let me finish. You might have to go out here and literally hunt 70 squirrels to put it in the stew, just like this one.
Right.
70 squirrels. There's a little bit of pork in there, a little bit of chicken as well, but it's the squirrels is what set it off. So, you and Alexis out there,
Ashley, if
y'all
that
chilling.
world does not include football, I just don't see me being a part of it. So, not really sure what kind of world this is that you're talking about.
This is the world of being exploratory. Uh-oh.
Listen, Ashley, I'm telling you right now, if the world lost football today, I don't care what would be going on in the world, I would be putting together a committee to try and get football back. That's it. It wouldn't matter what the hell else was going on. I would be the head of the Get Football Back committee. That's yes.
Oh
Devon,
my
I'm
god.
putting out a new cap calculator.
Nice. Okay. You did. You said
Uh,
yes. Okay. Well,
yes,
awesome.
but
Awesome.
you
But
don't need a cap calculator if you are putting in your contracts on the portal and then just opening up a calculator to see where you're at. So you don't need a cap calculator, but I will be putting out an updated cap calculator. Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one that watches Uncharted. I didn't know about this show until a couple weeks ago. It's great.
It is so dope. And I like the way it's shot. I like the respect for the food and the culture that he shows whenever he's there, you know.
And I like that sometimes he fails, because it seems like on every Gordon Ramsay show, he's like the God's greatest, gift to whatever. And, I watched a show last night where a buffalo took a big old dump and then swashed the tail right in his face, got crap all in his face. Like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Royalty, society's royalty getting pooped on. That's good to me. So,
I mean, it gives them, it shows that, they could fail too, because it is, you do see a lot of him, teaching others and being real rude about it. But then again, I understand his point. I worked as a server for a very long time, and I've actually worked in kitchens too. But when you come to a chef like that and you say that you are the best, that you are a top chef, that you do this and do that, you need to, because someone like him is going to chop you down if you don't. If you can't cook an egg, don't even apply. So I understand his frustrations, although I do feel like he could express himself a little bit better. I think that's more for the show, though.
Oh, no, I like that, too. I like when he craps on everybody that deserves to be crapped on. I mean, that's like my life's dream. That's so many times I can't do that. Otherwise, I would lose customers. But no, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that was fun. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you again, Cam. Everybody, I thank you all for tuning in, listening on the radio, however you chose to tune in tonight. I hope that we got a lot of the questions answered for you. If not, Cam is an open book. You can DM him, or the good thing is you really can call him. Like, we literally just had a phone call a few days ago. And it's always refreshing, and he will give you the time to kind of get your thoughts out there and to make it a comfortable experience. So if you have something to say, just call him or just tell him. That's the only way he's gonna know. So, but I am looking forward to bringing you another great show next week, y'all. But until then, you stay safe, treat each other well. Cam, you have anything you want to say before I actually officially end the show? Anything else?
Nothing. I'm hungry. Let's go see what's in the freezer.
Let's go eat. See you soon. Bye.
How you doing? What's your name? Never mind. Pull up on me in Atlanta. When you hear what I'm putting down, gon' get excited. That fans might need to bring a pamper. Cop a ticket, cop for more. Bring your granny with her knees on swole. Chicken a thigh, figured out what better I will get her on my stage, watch it all unfold. Ho, pick it up, that don't put down. Line up a pot, I'm about to cook now. I took the sauce and dipped with 2 sporks. Came off the noodle, took it to Pound Town. For real. I don't got the pop appeal. I can sip so the pop and chill. Baby, come make the deal. I give you the deal. You can feel in the back of a pop you feel. Now how you wanna get it? Eat it, mean it, mind it, oh. Make you feel it in your pinky toe. Grab the reins, I'm about to make it rain. Hop in the chariot, make it swing slow. Done with it, what's next? Stop it now. My mama told me to shop around. Break it down. Shh, be quiet. Shut up, cat's out the bag, meow. Get out the way. When the real come through, them I thought I told you. We been the way. I've been minding my biz, cause I've been out the way. Take something that another cause. We make a way. Make it wanna wake up, pull out the cup, hold up the Folgers. I mean, they really got me up. I showed up and never lost composure. I tried to tell you can't with him, even if you was fat, looking slim. I reckon that you could take a dive and swim in the pool with 2 the squares, be cool with them. Shut up, don't be coming around me acting like a homie when we know you really is a sucker. I know you don't know me, I bet you a phony. Wait, shut up, stop, bring that tag like an ass popping hard for the 99 in the 2. Thou shalt not do whatever you think you can whenever it's my time. Do it for the damn fine. Feel it, bass all in your stomach. Treble, now don't you run from it. I make that make you wanna get up. Say, girl, let's make our booty cheeks plummet. I know you love it. Fight the temptation, don't rub it. Good music make you say But if you get the urge, wanna splurge, bubble my shit and tell people you heard it. Get out the way. When the real come through, them I thought I told you. We've been the way. When they ask where I've been minding my biz, cause I've been out the way, way. Take something that another cause. We make a way. Get out the way. When the real come through, them I thought I told you. We've been the way. When they ask where I've been minding my biz, cause I've been out the way, way. Take something that another cause. We make a way. Get out the